I can't physically go on all of the appointments with my agents to give them coaching advice. So we created this app and it records the entire listing appointment and it summarizes the entire appointment. It's got a skills score, 42% was our conversion rate face to face. Now they're hitting like 52 and 53%. And that 10% bump equates to millions of dollars in gross commission.
Everyone, Shaune Corbett here with Real Estate Success DFW, and I have a special guest. I have Chris Waters here from Chris Waters International. How are you, Chris?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Very cool. He is, and I tease him a little bit. He's a little bit more of a celebrity for me because I listen to a lot of radio and I hear his commercials on there all the time. So I know he's had quite a bit of success. He's based in several markets here and he's even outsourced some of his talents and skills to other brokerages that they can adopt his model and improve their brokerages as well. So he's got a lot of things that he can help you guys out there in growing your business and just getting your mindset right. You know, some of us are just trapped and we're not producing and we're frustrated and we don't know what are we going to do next. Chris has been there and he knows ways to kind of break through some of these, these areas where people are not moving forward. And he was willing to jump on a podcast with me and share those things. So let's jump right in. How did you get into real estate? It's usually a starting point just so we have a little bit of connection with the audience because most of us don't go to college and then graduate and say, you know what, I think I'm going to start selling houses. Most of us kind of land there for different reasons. So how did you get in there?
Yeah, I had a lawn mowing business paying my way through college, and I had this customer, and he's still got a team in Austin, and his name's Patrick McKinley. Great guy, one of the most talented salespeople I've ever met. And if Patrick is listening, he was probably, I'm sorry to say this, Patrick, but you were probably one of my most pain in the ass customers because he was like so particular about his lawn. But I took care of his lawn when I was going through college, right? And my senior year, he's like, "Hey, what are you going to do when you graduate?" And I started going on job interviews in the investment banking world, New York City, San Francisco, talking to JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all those companies. And he had gone through like the finance corporate ladder and was like, he's like, "Hey, are you open-minded to learning about going into real estate?" And so I kind of was like, why not? What do I got to lose? I was 21 years old. And so I joined his team as a buyer's agent at the end of 2006 and started selling a lot of homes really quickly. I was being fed leads from Google. Believe it or not, in 2006, that's actually the year Google AdWords launched. And so that was a big like lead generation mechanism in the industry that was very new back then. And so I started selling a lot of homes, kind of started learning about the internet lead generation game. And like probably any 21-year-old, I didn't have any humility and was not very coachable. I think, Patrick tried hard to like, to be a good coach, but yeah, I was a arrogant 21-year-old that wasn't very coachable. And so I left his team within like less than 6 months. And I actually got into the oil and gas business in DFW, and I was what was called a landman. And
Sure.
so I was doing that and selling homes simultaneously. And then market starts slowing down. I go into the downturn, still selling a few homes, still doing the oil and gas thing. But and for anybody, if anybody remembers this, I think it was 2009. Like the Dow Jones was down to 5,000. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody can remember that, but like it
Oh,
was.
for sure. The collapse. Yeah. The mortgage crisis. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, basically within a couple of like, weeks, again, Dow Jones it's crazy to think was at like 5,000. It's like 50,000 right now.
Yeah.
It's literally gone up 10x. Oh my God, that's nuts. Yeah, so anyways, I worked for this I was a contractor working for this huge company. They laid off thousands of people. I wasn't selling any houses and I was like, I'm a 24-year-old kid now and I'm like, man, what do I do? And I'd actually saved quite a bit of money and a loan officer that I was sending business to, like kind of grew up in the bar and restaurant business. Like his dad kind of built this empire in this town called Killeen, Texas. And so I took all my chips and went all in on this bar and restaurant. And I'd like to tell you it was a success, but it was a complete disaster. Within less than 9 months, we had chains on the front door, and we were shut down. And I lost every penny to my name. And I had the Lebanese, it felt like the Lebanese mob after me. And you probably know this company. It's called Twin Liquors. And it's owned by these Lebanese guys, super, super nice guys. But again, I'm like a 24, 25-year-old kid, and they're calling me daily, like, where's my money? Where's my money? Because we owed them all this money for the liquor inventory. And so, anyways, the only thing I knew how to do then at that point was like sell homes. And so, one thing that was a positive out of the market downturn was there were so many expired listings. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of homes failing to sell. And so, I just got laser focused and started, building up my listing inventory and hammering the phones, booking appointments. And yeah, I got to a point I was generating so many leads, I needed to start recruiting other people. And that's kind of where things really took off.
Okay. So it started exploding. You added people. This was that time where I'll tell you one funny side thing. When I was about that age, about that time, let's say, I had about 20 listings and I was vice president of human resources for a company simultaneously. But the listings were so easy to get and they wouldn't sell. So they just kept piling up on, and having a listing for 6 to 8 months wasn't old.
Yeah.
They may take a year to sell, and that's just kind of the way things were at the time. I remember having 20 listings, like, holy cow, I have 20 listings, and I still have a full-time job over here. I eventually had to get out of that job, so I had to focus on real estate. But it's funny because I
Well, that's
remember those
impressive.
days.
If you had a full-time job and 20 listings, that's impressive.
It was a pretty exciting time for sure. All right, let's talk about a little bit about real estate, okay? Because you've got a lot of good insights, and I know we don't get a whole lot of time together, but I want to cover a few of them. I think would be of value to people out there. One is, there are ways that we can improve our gross commission income, our GCI, the amount of money that we bring home, without having to spend money on leads. What's some tips and things you can share in that particular space, because it I have a philosophy that, and one of the three philosophies that I have is, how do we build our business without spending money? And there are a lot of things we can do in improving our opportunities with our sphere, open houses, all kinds of other things we can do. So I think that's a great place for anyone out there, because not all of us have 5,000 a month we can spend on Zillow. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very anti buying leads from companies like Realtor.com and Zillow. Not because I don't like the companies, it's just because when you look at what the lead cost is and ultimately how many leads you need to generate a closing, your client acquisition cost is very high, and then your
Yeah.
net margin is very, very low. And what's amazing about our business is, when you think about the listing side, for example, anybody listening to the show knows, like, on the listing side, most people that sell, like a vast majority, like 80% of the reason people sell are major life events. It's like you're going through a divorce, you're going through some kind of financial distress. You might be facing foreclosure. Maybe you inherited a house. Like those three reasons right there, equate to a large percentage of the houses that actually sell: death, divorce, and distress, financial distress. The lifestyle upgrade, seller is actually very few and far between. Even in a good market, it's like one out of five. And so what's crazy is, like, a lot of people go to all these lead generation companies to get these low intent leads. And I think actually we've been brainwashed by a lot of these tech companies to think that it's just normal for us to have to wait 1 to 2 years for a lead to close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's not normal. Like
We,
it's
we
not
load up thousands of incubating leads.
that's not a normal thing to do, to wait 1 to 2 years to get a payday. Yeah, to get a payday. And so, like, for example, you can go to a website. It's about to sell.com, and they'll scrape from the county courthouse websites, like from your county. They scrape probate records, divorce records, people facing foreclosure, and then they enrich those contact records. And now you have a definitive list of people that have this crazy high likelihood to sell. Now, I'm not a fan of outbound calling. Like, we don't do, cold calling. That's not what we do. And so, we use inbound strategies with those data sets to generate inbound calls. My lead to appointment set ratio is 1.6 to 1. So for every 1.6 leads, I get one appointment. For every two appointments, I get a listing signed, and 90% of those go to the closing table. So that what we focus on is high intent leads. So my lowest performing listing agent, lowest performing, and I'm talking about a decade, for over a decade, this is what it's been like. This isn't a fluke. It's not a good year, bad year. This has just been the average for the past 10 plus years. My lowest performing listing agent will sell about 60 homes a year, and my best performing one will sell between 115 and 120 homes per year. And so the reason this is possible is because of two major opportunity switches that I discovered. I told you back in 2006 when I got licensed as an agent, I started working Google AdWord leads. And I figured out really quickly, like, there's this conversion rate for that specific lead source that pretty much is going to hold true forever. And it still has held true even back to 2006, which is in a good market, Google AdWord leads convert at 2 to 3% best case in a good market. In a bad market, and you can look this up with NAR, the recent surveys show that in the current market we're in, the average conversion rate of Google AdWord leads is 0.45 to 0.65%. So you need almost
Mm.
200 leads to close one deal.
Yeah,
So it's like if you're going to give those type of leads to an agent, you're setting them up for financial disaster.
sure.
So the real secret to driving profitability is don't spend a lot of money on the lead data itself, and then have inbound marketing strategies that focus on high intent leads. That's like opportunity switch number one to drive big profit.
Okay. So we're going to focus on high opportunity. It was 1.6 to get one, and then one to get two appointments, and two appointments to get one closing.
So 1.6 leads so I'm talking about an inbound lead, right? They
Yeah,
go to my
you're talking about the
website.
inbound, the people that are actually interested in selling.
They literally go to my website, and for every 1.6 leads, we get one face-to-face appointment.
Yeah.
And for every two face-to-face appointments, we get one signed.
So what's really important is this is called reverse prospecting, right? So we're trying to create an opportunity for them to reach out to us and not us calling them. Is that a fair? Or are you actually still
I mean,
calling?
we only call them because they fill out a form on our website.
Well, there you go. I mean, but they still reached out like I'm interested.
Yeah, yeah, they
They
reached
show
out to
you
us.
interest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we reached out. They reached out to us.
So
So another like I'd say big profit lever, and we actually get this through a company called RealSync. And basically, and that's a company I invested in. I help them. I'm a big part of what they're doing. But basically, you have all this website traffic coming to your website right now, and it's crazy that this isn't more common in our industry. But you have all this traffic, and if you look at any real estate team's website, let's say they have 1,000 people go to their website per month, and you look at what's the visitor to web form completion ratio. So how many people fill out a web form out of the 1,000 web visitors? And it's on average for our industry about 2.5%. So again, if you have 1,000 web visitors, you get 25 lead forms or leads completed, right? And so it's a tiny percentage, right? And it's kind of the industry norm. And so there's a lot of things you can do to literally double that number, which effectively cut your lead costs in half. And so the things that common people do commonly right now is retargeting, right? Retargeting ads. The downside of a lot of the tech companies I'm seeing is when you run retargeting ads, the retargeting ads aren't branded to you. They're these very generic ads, so they're not very effective.
yeah,
I think your retargeting ads have to be very branded to you. The other thing that again that we use RealSync for is they take all of our website visitor traffic, the IP addresses of everybody that comes in. They enrich those IP addresses, and it pulls in the contact records for all the IP addresses, like literally giving you the homeowner's address and an email and a phone. And we don't actually call the phone, but we do a cold email to them, even if they haven't filled out a lead form. And just to give you a sense of perspective how powerful this is. So again, 2.5% of people fill out the lead form, right? When you get the IP traffic enriched, you're not going to find everybody, but you're going to get between 40 and 50% of it enriched. So you've literally, again, previously
gotcha.
you were at 2.5%.
So they don't even fill out the form. You're just gaining all these extra opportunities because of the enriched part of it, because you're
Yeah,
getting their contact information.
we're like supercharging how fast we build our email newsletter database
Hmm.
by a factor of like 15x.
Wow.
15x our email newsletter database is building per month, 15x by taking the IP addresses and enriching those IP addresses. So we're doing the cold email, and then we also do something on the retargeting side that makes it, more branded to us so people connect the dots. And then another retargeting feature we use, which is not very common in our industry, is leveraging something called OTT. So OTT stands for over the television. Those are all the streaming apps on your smart TV. So what's amazing with OTT is like, unlike Meta and the other platforms that have all these privacy restrictions, if you have the homeowner's address, you can serve retargeting ads to people on their television. And then here's the other crazy thing. You're paying on Zillow $200 to get a lead or whatever, or if you send out direct mail pieces, you spend $1,000 to direct mail 1,000 people. There's a marketing metric, CPM stands for cost per thousand. And on OTT, your cost per thousand is $30. So to serve your ad to 1,000 people literally costs you $30. So again, every person that comes to our website, we're now serving them ads on their television using
Mm.
their homeowner address, and we're spending $30 per 1,000 impressions we get, from like 1,000 unique eyeballs, like looking at our ads. So this retargeting strategy, what we have found is bumped our web visitor to lead form completion ratio from 2.5 to 5.
Wow.
That cut my
Without
lead cost
without
in half.
without spending more money or spending very
We're
little money.
we're spending zero additional dollars
Okay.
on traditional like driving traffic to the site. We're
Yeah.
just using the traffic we already have, and we're spending pennies on the dollar to get these people to engage back with us. Google display, again, your cost per thousand is crazy cheap. OTT crazy cheap. And so a lot of people have so much traffic come to their website, and they're not really completely taking advantage of all the traffic they already have. The other thing we'll do is we can send out direct mail pieces on a one-off basis, but we only do that for really high intent people. So we put a pixel on our website on the home valuation landing pages, like within the website. So we don't do it on our home screen. We do it on the deeper pages within the website. And when somebody goes to those deeper pages on the website,
Oh, they're interested.
then we're firing off a direct mail and it's a handwritten letter.
Oh, I got you. You want to have some significant interest before you pay for a direct mail.
That's right,
Meaning they've
exactly.
dug in, they now seen your name a bunch of times. There's a connection. Once they've dug in that deep, now we're going to enroll them in a more expensive campaign, which of course is direct mail.
That's right. And you're not
Yeah,
going to have that much, you're not going to have that many people like going deeper into your website.
sure.
It's going to be a lot more effective when you send out those direct mail pieces. We use a company called thanks.io, and they do the handwritten letters,
Yep.
and they'll
Handwritten.
send,
Yep.
yeah, and
Yep.
they send it off to the people that are going deeper in the website. So at the very top, we do all the basic stuff most people probably listening to the show do, which is retargeting. The one asterisk there is most of the tech companies that have retargeting, I think, is garbage because they're very generic ads. They're not branded to
Yep.
you. You need to make them branded to you. The next thing we do is OTT retargeting, which is the streaming apps on the television. And then the third layer is cold email. So like we enrich those IP addresses, we get their email address, and we do cold email and we put them on a newsletter. That 15x that's a 15x multiple on our web visitor traffic when we look at those conversion ratios. And then with the people that go really deeper on our website, we do the letters, the ones that go really deep on the website and they hit very specific pages. That's when we do the direct mail letters.
Is this all real sync?
So I mean, we're using for the
You're
OT.
talking about things you're doing. Are these things that we can go and do ourselves? Or are you just getting in the high level? If you want to get better, these are the things you need to do. Or do you have an actual do it
So
for
real,
you?
I have the RealSync team getting me all of the IP address data and enriching it.
Okay, that's part of it.
Yeah, so I get all the lead data from
Okay.
them with the homeowner information, the email addresses, and all that. So I get that all from them. And then we use a platform, we use a company called Motivate Media, and they run our ads on digital and on OTT. And I can tell you, I know the platform that they use, that company called Motivate Media, they use a platform called Simplify, and that's the platform that will serve ads to specific homeowner addresses. And that's what's unique about OTT compared to like, like meta ads is like you can literally hit the person's address by having their physical, mailing address.
These are powerful tools, man. That will definitely get you in front of the right
And,
way at the lowest cost
I
and
mean,
get
in
the
the,
highest conversion.
I know I'm rattling off a lot of different things. Like we're literally paying pennies on the dollar for all this stuff. Like when we run OTT ads, it's literally $30 to have our ad
1,000 people.
for a
Yeah.
thousand people.
That have
Um,
already are already connected and seen your brand. So it's just a reemphasis. It's not let's just blast out a Super Bowl ad, right? I mean, this is like
yeah.
people that have already connected with you, and that makes the conversion even better. And now you become more top of mind for sure.
So I'd say this is like the very first thing is for anybody listening to this, like focus on high intent leads, focus on, taking advantage of the traffic you already have, and you can spend pennies on the dollar to really eke out, so much more juice. I mean, this sounds so insignificant, but again, like go look on your website. How much traffic are you getting to your website? And then look at how many people fill out the web form.
Yeah.
And for most of us, we just kind of accept that for what it is. It is what it is. And we don't think about like, how could we double it? And so what's mind-boggling is you can literally double your lead flow, spending pennies on the dollar by doing a couple of these little things. And you take your web visitor to lead form ratio from 2.5 to 5%. And again, it sounds insignificant, but you cut your lead costs in half and you're doubling the number of leads.
All right, let's do this. Before we go to Table OS, I want to talk about lead conversion. Is there something in particular? Because now we've all only talked about creating leads. What do you have that you could advise on making a high level conversion? Because that's another part of the puzzle.
So the only reason conversion is an issue and is because people are focusing on low intent leads. Like that's ultimately why conversion's an issue. Conversion's an issue because your agents aren't making enough phone calls. And the reason your agents aren't making enough phone calls is because they're demoralized because it takes 100 leads to close one deal. And so because they're like emotionally demoralized from calling 100 people and getting, lucky to close one deal, they're not very incentivized and they're not very excited about hammering the phones and making more calls. There's things you can do like hiring inside salespeople and all those things, but even then, like with an inside sales team, you can bog them down and you can put a proverbial ceiling on them of how much income they can earn by giving them garbage leads, like low intent leads. So it's ultimately, it's just across the board, whether you're using inside salespeople or agents, like, you want to focus on high intent leads. If unless you're building Zillow, like why would you go after low intent leads? Like if you're building Zillow, sure, go build, go generate millions of leads. But if you're a team or a brokerage and you're in one market, it's like just go after this small little pie of the market that are the high intent leads. And by the way, there's like probably over 1,000 of them per month, and just focus on those, and you can make millions and millions of dollars.
You say it so flippantly, right? Because people, I don't even know, I honestly, I don't even know if I've heard anyone separate high intent versus the common lead. And you think we would. Maybe this is very commonplace for you, but I do a lot of workshops and a lot of trainings, and I'm trying to help agents grow their business. And most of them are just chasing lead generation, right? What's the number one thing a broker offers all agents to get them to come to work for them? The number one thing they offer is leads.
Yeah.
And if they have leads, then agents will show up. But they're not good leads. They're not good quality leads. They're not going to give them high intent leads, and that's not the way they're going to qualify them. So I think that would certainly be a game changer if we could only focus on people that actually want to move and not just kick tires and think about, not qualified or they're just not ready or whatever their reasons are. We're chasing all of them for months and months and months instead of, I used to hear the number one reason people move is if they add someone or take someone away. You ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Now you're looking at categories that are above and beyond that, but I'm thinking if you add someone, meaning a mom comes to live with you, your kids come back and live with you, whatever it is, now your status of your house changes, or if one gets taken away. It could be divorce, could be death, or it could just be your kid goes to college and we're downsizing, right? I always heard that was the number one reason people make moves.
Yeah. I mean, they're major life events. Ultimately, what you just
Sure.
said is they're all major life events that are causing people to sell. And what's crazy is there's all these companies like selling this black box of like, oh, I can find people with this algorithm and AI that are likely to sell. Like, that's bullshit. The people that are likely to sell are filing a freaking probate filing at the courthouse saying they need to sell a house, or they're filing a piece of paper at the courthouse saying they're going through divorce. Don't give me all this AI algorithm bullshit. Like, they're filing some paper, like a physical piece of paper. They legally have to. And by the way, that's all public information. It's not rocket science to go get it.
Yep.
So anyways, I'm really frustrated with a lot of the tech industry and the real estate space, just because like as a
Well,
young
it's bloated. They've grown it to a point. It's easy commodities. They just sell it to everyone. They make you think you're going to get something, and it's very frustrating for sure.
so like when I started as a 21-year-old kid, right? Like I'm getting fed these internet leads. Like I was probably one of the early people to get fed that in my career. And I realized within like 3 months, there was only so many deals, best case I could close. And so there was ultimately a proverbial ceiling. And
So you're capping yourself from the conversion time spent to just how many you could actually close. There was only so many hours in the day to do it.
yeah,
So
but
something had to change. Either
right.
the leads had to improve or you had to hire staff, which you did. You ended up hiring staff.
Yeah, but even when so I wrote this book, it was like my memoir because I had a lot of people asking me. I didn't really get to this in the intro, but between 2010 and 2013, I started 2010 is when I first started my first team. And in that first year, I was generating a lot of leads. Again, I was making a kind of a joke. The Lebanese mafia was coming after me. I needed to close a lot of deals really fast. And so I was generating a lot of leads. I was giving them out to the agents. And that first year, I had my team, company, whatever. It was a complete disaster. I had recruited 20 agents in the summer of 2010. And in the summer of 2011, we had closed in that first year 98 deals, but 80 of them were me and one other person. The other
Yeah.
18 agents sold 18 homes. And so ultimately I remember I was super frustrated because, just 98 homes, maybe that sounds good or bad to some people, I don't know, but for 20 people it sounded horrible to me. And I went to that other guy on my team. He and I had sold 80 homes between the two of us. And I said, man, I'm going to burn this down. And I'd like for you to go focus on the buy side, recruiting, selecting, training, leading people. I'll focus on the listing side. And so that's exactly what we did. We kind of divided, conquered. We burned the business down. And in the preceding 24 months, we built it up. And in 2013, we did 325 closings. We went from like
Mm.
literally zero to 325 closings in a single year. We only had 7 or 8 agents. Our average agent was selling, dozens and dozens of houses per, in that year. And we had earned $1 million net income after all expenses in 2013. And so, yeah, I wrote a book about that 3 year kind of journey. And, there's, again, there's two opportunities. There's a couple things I learned. One, you've got to give the right leads to the agents to drive their success. Second, you need the right kind of training and onboarding program to like lead them to success. And then third, you have to have this enforcement layer to make sure that they're taking advantage of what you train them on. And like, I didn't write about that in the book. And since writing the book, I've realized I guess I didn't realize what a big deal that was because I've had all these people over the last 8 years that read my book and they're like, man, I'm getting stuck. Like my team's getting stuck at about 150 deals. And I kept hearing this over and over and over and over and over again. And everybody kept, it's like, I'm getting stuck. I can't, like, and what we talked about in the book is like when you get to about 150 deals, if you're focused on agent productivity, you have to hire another sales leader to help you build the business because start getting spread too thin. And without another sales leader, you're not going to go from 150 to 300 deals in a year to 500 deals in a year. It's not going to happen. And so everybody kept getting stuck. And, where they got stuck was they tried to find a sales leader and they would just burn through them. And the issue, because I talked to a lot of these sales leaders, is like they said their job was too wide. They just didn't have enough hours in the day. They would spend a lot of time recruiting them, selecting them, training them, but the leading and managing them piece totally fell off the back of the truck. It didn't happen. The leading and managing piece. There was a class at Keller Williams called Recruit Select, and there was an acronym that described the leader. It was RSTLM. And so recruit, select, train, lead, motivate, right? And so the lead and motivate part was something I didn't realize so many other teams don't understand what that means. They thought it meant do one-on-ones. They thought it meant do like weekly sales team meetings. That's what they thought lead and manage meant. But for us, what it meant was we literally listened to calls every day and we also did ride-alongs. And like I didn't just do it when the agent was with us for the first 30, 60, 90 days. We did it in perpetuity, whether they were with us for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We were constantly doing it. And so that's what I realized is where the wheels are falling off the bus for a lot of people. And so you have to have this enforcement mechanism to make sure people actually take advantage of what you teach them. And that's just, and I'm not calling out like teams. I mean, this is like an industry-wide challenge because it's a structural issue, is the ratio of agents to, subject matter experts, i.e. the team leaders, the team owners, the brokers,
Yeah.
like that ratio is so out of whack. You got 100 people to like one subject matter expert that can lead that person to success.
Yeah. No, there's some depth that we can go into that. And you and I think talked offline before we got here and talking about some of those conversations about there's a big drop off. Agents are so excited when they first get their license and they're selling and they're making the phone calls and their conversions are pretty good because they've got energy and they see the opportunity. At some point, it starts dropping off because there's no accountability on their phone calls and their conversations, and there's this drop off. I believe your table OS has some options to help in that space. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, again, most people won't be able to relate to this. I know you will out of Dallas, but I'm in Austin, Texas, and our market fell off a cliff. Like home prices were in
Well,
the
they
ground.
exploded to an unbelievable level for about 2 years.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
even more than Dallas Fort Worth, which is incredible.
So our average price point and during COVID went from like 400,000 to just over 600,000. And then as soon as interest rates doubled, right, from
Yeah.
like 3% to 6%, the market fell off a cliff. And
Yep.
so our like we go on listing appointments now where the person bought the house for 600 and it's only worth 400,000 right now. And so our conversion rates have been just to say they're bad would be an understatement because the market's just been getting clobbered off the Austin market. So when this started happening, we had to find a way to improve conversion rates. And we were literally looking under every stone imaginable to try to figure out like how do we fix our conversion rates? Because it took more leads to get an appointment, more appointments to get a listing that was priced right, more listings to get a deal closed than ever before. I've never, even during 2008 and 9, it wasn't this bad. Like our markets just got absolutely obliterated. And so we created this app, and like I didn't really know where it was going to go, but we were like, I can't physically go on all of the appointments with my agents to give them coaching advice. There's just not enough time in the day to go do it like every day. And I can't listen to every call with them and help coach them to drive conversion. So we created this app. It's on the Apple Store and the Android Store. And basically, what it does is it will when they walk into the house, they hit the record button, and it records the entire listing appointment or the entire buyer appointment. And what happened as a result of doing that just like completely blew my mind. And it's like has been such an epiphany, like the amount of ahas from a opportunity creation, opportunity conversion, like,
Things left off, people can get trained on, all kinds of things
oh
get
man,
exposed.
just mind-boggling. Like I discovered, when I go and do like ride-alongs with somebody, like, oh man, they're putting on their best self. You know what I'm saying? And but like when they got that, the app running, it's like now you get to see really what's going on. So anyways, we have this app. They hit the record button when they walk in, and it's not about critiquing the agents. Like it does a lot of stuff to help them. It basically creates like an entire summary of the appointment. And just to give you all some context, so I think most people listening to the show know like the average listing appointment takes 2 to 3 hours. So when we transcribe the audio into text, the average listing appointment is 800 pages at 12-point font. That's how much you talk about when you're at someone's house. And so the AI, our app is connect. We built an integration with OpenAI, summarizes the entire appointment. But the real game changer is we uploaded like 10,000 hours of training material, and we uploaded a grading rubric for like a buyer appointment, a seller appointment. And there's like a grading rubric. Like, for example, like, we grade to see like how well did they build rapport? Do they really understand the motivation of the seller and why they're moving? Did they go really deep on pricing? Did they go through actives, pending, sold, the CMA? Did they go through a net proceeds estimate? Did they talk about market absorption report? Did they go through and share our marketing plan? So we uploaded this grading rubric to listen for all of these things, right? And so as soon as a listing agent walks out of the house, they get emailed a summary, an AI notes summary, right? But also at the bottom, it's got a skills score, like what their
Yeah.
score skills perspective, and it'll say like, hey, here's the 3 things you did well, but here's the 3 things you need to improve upon. Like I had a agent, I looked at a report a couple days ago, and the agent, it's funny, the agent won the listing, but at the bottom, the AI said, hey, you got lucky on this one. You didn't share a CMA, and it put in quotation where the agent like literally said verbatim, like, hey, Mr. Seller, there aren't any comps in your area. There's no sold comps. There's nothing around you. And so I don't have a lot of market data to show you. And the AI said, hey, you got lucky on this one. You won the listing, but you didn't share any market data. And you can guarantee that if a buyer gets a loan on this property, the appraiser is going to find some comps. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyways, that was kind of a funny one. And then there was another one where the agent like just went straight into the numbers and straight into the marketing, and they didn't get the listing. And it said in the summary, like you totally skipped building rapport. You didn't ask
Uh,
them about where they're going. You didn't earn their trust. You didn't explain why.
and if you don't know their why, then you're throwing darts at a board. You have no idea what they really want to do.
So this has become basically like our AI coach, this app.
Hmm.
And like what's cool is like it's led like I've been watching my agents' scores, like their skill score, and they've been steadily improving for 6 months now, and their conversion rates are going up too. Like our conversion rates were at like an all-time low, like 41, 42% was our conversion rate face to face. Now they're hitting like 52 and 53%, and that 10% bump equates to, in my case, millions of dollars in gross commission, like significant
Yeah.
amount of money, and even more money in net profits. And so the agents are like being led to self-discovery versus, me having to critique them, right? And so anyways, it's been yeah, it's been one of the biggest epiphanies I've had, is like this AI coach is like this enforcement layer behind the scenes that I used to do in person. And I think this enforcement layer is what's been missing with most brokerages and most teams, is the ability to give people instantaneous feedback when they walk out of that appointment with the buyer or seller, or when they hang up the phone with the buyer or seller, because when you get on the phone, the goal is to book the appointment. And so again, there's things you should be doing in all those different instances to drive, conversion, because again, conversion dies or thrives at two places. It's either on the phone or in person.
It'd be helpful if after the appointment, I mean, it's great that it gives the agent feedback, but there's a lot of really good high quality things that can summarize. Think about us doing a Zoom meeting and then we have the AI note taker, right? And then when we're done, it automatically sends the notes to both of us when we're done. There's probably a clean, professional follow up. Hey, I want to make sure we got everything right. Here's the follow up for our conversation. And it actually goes through and gives the seller or the buyer a synopsis of the conversation that you had. It just kind of was like it's instantaneous. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, and it's just a hey, here's a report. Make sure we covered everything as just a follow up. Professional touching.
Yeah,
Um,
we get an email summary of the report. So it goes to the agent, the team owner, and the transaction coordinator.
okay.
My transaction coordinators love it. They're like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." It makes their job so much easier. And then you can,
Yeah, yeah, because they can catch things that the agent's going to forget to tell them. Oh, by the way, we need to change the alarm code to do this or whatever, any specific details. They don't have to remember everything.
yep, and they can totally copy and paste this, upload it in their CRM. They can forward it to their clients. Like when we walk into an appointment, we tell the seller like, "Hey, I have an AI note taker," and the seller's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And then some people are like, "Hey, can you forward it to me when you're done?" And it's like, "Yes, absolutely." Like 80% of the juice is like the summary of those 800 pages, right? And at the bottom, like you could just delete at the bottom where it has the bullet points about the things you could improve upon.
Chris, you and I can go for a long time. We're actually running out of time at this point. But man, there's some really good content that you've shared. What is the best thing? How is the best way to people connect with you, or what would you like to share for the audience?
You guys can follow me on Instagram, shoot me a DM. It's just Christopher Waters. And then, I think I'll try to, let's see. So some of the things I talked about in my book. I'll give people a copy for free if anybody's listening on the show. I have a landing page people can go to and get the book for free. It is, I think the website, it's a really long domain name because it's just to get the book for free. I mean, if you want, you can go on Amazon and buy it. It's called the Million Dollar Real Estate Team. If you want to buy it on Amazon. But there's a landing page, you get it for free. It's I think the landing page is milliondollarrealestateteam.com. I know it's a mouthful. You can also just Google it and you'll probably find the landing page where you can get the book for free.
Okay.
Uh, and then I talked about the high intent seller leads. That's about to sell.com, direct mail, thanks.io for direct mail. What else did I talk about? Real
That's
Sync.
for the handwritten letters and stuff like that.
Yep. And
And
then
then you have Real Sync and then Table OS.
yeah, yeah. And there's some tools out there, there's like Shiloh, Maverick, Sisu. Like basically we recreated all of those under one, and they're all powered by RealSync. So Table OS is basically the conversational AI intelligence. And then RealSync offers like all the data enrichment. They do KPI reporting. It integrates with your CRM. It's all automated. So, anyways, people can go on any of those websites and check that stuff out.
I love it, Chris. Well, thank you for joining us this time. And I probably will do another interview because you've got plenty more information to share. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. I'd love it.
For all of you out there that have tuned in and joined us through this episode. If you are interested and you like what we have to share, I've got over 50 more other episodes that have really good content of people that had great success, and they're sharing with you, ways that help grow your business as well. If you haven't subscribed, please do at the bottom. And until next time, have a high performance week and look forward to the next episode. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0388. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.